Welcome to the GCN Show, brought to you by Wiggle.
Coming up this week, how exactly did Philippe Gilbert win Paris-Roubaix?
Apart from being really, really blooming strong.
Apart from that?
Yeah, we're going to pick apart the key points of this year's race.
Plus, we've got a cursed pair of white shorts, a new wattage bazooka, and another reason why you should ride your bike instead of driving your car.
Yeah, Jeremy Clarkson losing 2 stone riding a bike.
And another 2 reasons why you should ride your bike instead of driving your car.
This week in the world of cycling, we learnt that bigger tyres aren't enough if you really want to smooth out rough roads. Full suspension is back. 25 years after Bianchi unveiled their full suspension monster and 23 years after it quietly disappeared, Pinarello have now unveiled their version, which thankfully looks a bit more like a road bike. It's called the Dogma FS. And
we also learned this week that if at first you don't succeed, try again. Because last year, Evaldo Siska Vicious finished so far back at Paris-Roubaix, he had to ask for the gates to the velodrome be unlocked so that he could get round and do his final lap. This year, however, he finished 9th.
Amazing. He used to be in the Sex Pistols as well.
He did, yeah.
Anyway, write his name down for next year's preview show. Must mention him.
We mentioned him this year.
I know.
Yeah, we did, and the editors left it out. In all seriousness, much like they did poor Chris Opie's prediction of Niels Pollitt, who went on to finish 2nd, of course.
My prediction for Paris-Roubaix is Niels Pollitt.
So apologies, Chris, for that one.
That genuinely was shot before Paris-Roubaix.
Yeah, genuinely.
Finally this week, we learned that Philippe Gilbert has become the best classics rider since Sean Kelly, who was the previous person to win 4 monuments. In winning Paris-Roubaix, he added to an already enviable list of results in his career, which include Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Il-Lombardia, and the Tour of Flanders.
Yeah, not to mention a world title to boot. So the question is then, how on earth did he win Paris-Roubaix at just his 3rd attempt?
First up, we didn't really see him at all, did we, for the first 180 kilometres of the race? I mean, I'm sure if you were his biggest fan, you could have picked him out on occasion, but
to be fair, he was pretty much in disguise with that little Tash goatee combo.
You didn't even recognise him, did you?
No, I didn't. No, not
even. He did a great job of hiding over that first 180 Ks, staying away from bad luck and staying out of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, he was even towards the back of that lead group, wasn't he, going into the Forest of Arenberg, which is often considered to be one of the first key moments of the race.
Yeah, we're not sure whether that was a deliberate move or not though, are we? Because Juan Antonio Fleischer was here on Sunday and he was saying that if he knew he wasn't going to be in the top 10 coming into the Tour d'Arenberg, that he would deliberately sit up and go towards the back of the group where it was somewhat safer.
Yeah, that was absolutely fascinating, wasn't it? And you'd think that having finished top 8 on 8 occasions at Paris-Roubaix, he probably knows what he's talking about, doesn't he? Whatever it was, certainly Gilbert saved a heck of a lot of energy compared to
Wout van Aert.
Well, certainly compared to poor old Wout van Aert, cursed Wout van Aert, but also any of his rivals, any of them at all.
In fact, the first time that I was properly aware that Gilbert was somewhere towards the front was when he made that move with 71 kilometres to go to get across
through the feed zone.
It was, yeah, breaking one of cycling's unwritten rules in the process. Yeah. Well, I think all of the unwritten rules go out the window, don't they? On Paris-Roubaix.
They're pretty much gone anyway, aren't they, to be fair?
Regardless, he went after Niels Pollitt and those two formed a new group. And although it wasn't until 20 kilometres later that they were joined by Sagan and the other 3, that was the move of the race on Sunday.
Yeah, so basically Gilbert, complete with dodgy disguise with moustache and beard, hid for 180 kilometres, then made one big move. Yeah. And that was it. Simple in hindsight, isn't it?
Yes. Probably easier said than done, though.
Yeah. It's almost certain that that move would not have worked without Gilbert's team backing him up. Because it can't be chance that De Koning Quickstep in its various different guises have won 13 out of the last 25 editions of Paris-Roubaix. So without wishing to take anything away from Gilbert's strength or speed, you've got to say that team played more than a helping hand in its victory.
Yeah, in more ways than one too, I would say. First up, he had an ally in the front in the form of Yves Lampaert, which must have surely helped in that regard.
Yeah, how happy did Lampaert look on the podium when he finished third? That was great to see, wasn't it? Right out there with Sana Khan and her podium faces for sheer joviality. Brilliant.
Well, you could say he was stony-faced.
Hey, you could, yeah.
Secondly, they had Zdenek Stybar, Florian Seneschal in the group behind, which certainly wouldn't have sped up the chase. If anything, it would have been a hindrance for the chasers. And thirdly, and I think most importantly, he had the benefit of all the tactical experience that his team have built up from those previous 12 wins at the race.
Yeah, so despite the fact that, as we said at the beginning, this was just Gilbert's third participation in Paris-Roubaix, you'd think that the information coming to him from his team car would be absolutely priceless.
However, even with all the help from the team, it was down to him to seal the deal, wasn't it, once they got into the Roubaix velodrome. But I, for one, was never in doubt as to who would cross the line first, despite Pollitt being a very fast finisher on paper. I mean, I know they're 11 years apart in age, but Pollitt's got 1 win to his name as a pro, and Gilbert now has 75 wins, 37 of which, almost half, have come in one-day races.
He's a proven winner, isn't he, with a winner's mentality. And we saw that when he manoeuvred himself into that crucial second place coming into the Roubaix velodrome. You've got to say, it helped a little bit, perhaps, by his teammate Lampard closing that gap from behind, putting a bit of extra pressure on Pollitt. But he had him exactly where he wanted him, didn't he? Gilbert called the shots, Gilbert chose when to make his move, and in the end, that was a comfortable margin of victory.
Yeah, you're right about Lampard, but of the two up front, I actually think it was Gilbert that was more nervous about another quick-step rider joining them at the front. You could see the wind going out the window.
Yeah, he was looking behind him, wasn't he?
And finally, was it his bike? Last week, Specialized unveiled the latest version of their Roubaix model. And my word, how pleased must the marketing department have been on Sunday after the race. Not only was that the second year in succession that that bike has won at Paris-Roubaix, but they also filled 5 of the top 8 places on the day.
That's quite remarkable, isn't it? So Specialized definitely win the Constructors' Championships, but this isn't Formula One, is it? This is bike racing. And so did that bike actually win Paris-Roubaix for Gilbert? No. Would it have helped him? That's actually a hard question to answer, given that the week before, Bettiol won the Tour of Flanders on a bike with rim brakes, and that is resolutely unaerodynamic. And then even in the finale of Paris-Roubaix, in that breakaway, you've got 2 riders on like chalk and cheese bikes, haven't you? You've got the Canyon Aeroad, and then you've got the Specialized Roubaix. Both of them looked equally at home on the pavé.
There was an interesting fact, though, and a very impressive one at that, to come out from Specialized, in that neither of their 2 teams, Bora Hansgrohe and Deceuninck Quickstep, had a single puncture between their total of 14 riders. How impressive is that?
That is remarkably impressive, isn't it?
But I guess the question is, was Gilbert lucky that the likes of Van Aert, Christophe and Van Mark were resolutely riddled with bad luck, or was it a smart equipment choice?
That's another difficult question, isn't it? I mean, you've got to say that 100% success rate for tyres going through Roubaix is pretty impressive. But then equally, I can't imagine what kind of secret tech they'd have that would prevent punctures at Paris-Roubaix. So I'm going to say maybe it was just luck. But anyway, get involved in the comment section down below. What you can definitely say was smart choice, though, was Specialized Roubaix promo video, where you've got 3 riders absolutely smashing through the Arenberg trench, and it's only at the end that you actually see that it's 3 top female pros who, of course, don't normally get to race through Arenberg. So you had Anna van der Breggen, Christine Majerus, and Chantal Black.
Long overdue, isn't it, a women's Paris-Roubaix? But it does feel like we're now finally getting enough momentum behind that idea to make it a reality in the very near future. All right, before we finish with Paris-Roubaix, we are going to hand out a very well-deserved What's His Bazooka?
Wout van Aert, what a ride from him, despite the curse of GCN, which I placed on him during our Paris-Roubaix preview show. And he did have to fight a whole load of bad luck, didn't he? What was it? A puncture, mechanical, bike change, chase, bike change, crash, kind of mechanical, chase.
It was really incredible,
yeah,
wasn't it? Quite understandably, the lights did eventually go out for him, unfortunately, towards the end. But what a ride, and a thoroughly deserved Wattage Bazooka. And more Wout van Aert power news coming up later in the show.
Can we say as well, Dan, this is the first Wattage Bazooka we've ever given out for someone that was actually stuck in their little chainring.
It is, well. Although that little chainring was a 48 apparently.
Yeah, that's a mighty big little ring.
Next up, it's your weekly GCN Inspiration. This, of course, your chance to win one of 3 Wiggle voucher amounts. Third place is £50, second is £75. Top prize each and every week, £100 of Wiggle voucher to spend on anything you want on their online shop.
Right, coming up then, starting with third place, we have this photo here sent in by Neil from Neil St Vincent in Wallonia. This is his comeback he said, racing his second race of the season after taking a year off due to university. I managed to spend the whole race in the break. I'm the rider, third from the back with the white shoulders. That makes me quite wistful about bike racing again, Dan.
Yeah, great photo. But,
super cool.
Not being picky, but isn't a year at university kind of a year off anyway for a lot of people? I never went, but it sounds like a holiday. Leave your comments below. Right, moving quickly on. Second place this week. £75 of vouchers going to Laura, exploring Slovakia and Austria with a beautiful sunset. And, well, we are, as you very well know, suckers for sunrises and sunsets, and that is another beautiful example.
Yeah, that's very cool, isn't it? To be fair, Dan, we're getting some sunsets now, aren't we? Summer's just around the corner.
And they're setting later as well.
They are indeed. Right, finally then, our winner this week is this one from Gunter Rowe, sent in from the top of Port Hills, Summit Road, Christchurch, New Zealand. Look at that.
That is beautiful. However, not to pick holes in this one either, but we are going to get so many comments about the non-central mounting of that head unit.
I'll be honest, I did think twice about it, but then this isn't the bike vault, is it? We're not commenting on bikes here, even though the placement of his computer, it leaves a bit to be desired. But anyway.
Well, I did that once in a video and never did it again. I couldn't read any comments apart from where my head unit was placed. Regardless, if you would like to enter this next week or in the next 7 days, all you've got to do is use the upload. There's a link to that in the description below, or use the hashtag GCNINSPIRATION over on Instagram.
It's now time for Cycling Shorts.
We'll start Cycling Shorts, our weekly look at the hottest topics in the world of cycling, with perhaps the biggest story of them all. Still, Mathieu van der Poel and his white cycling shorts. Now, as we all know, or anyone who's ever had the misfortune of seeing that photo of Dan wearing white lycra, it is a bold choice.
It is. And following on from Si and Hank's discussion of this very topic on the show last week.
It's worthy of 2 weeks on the bounce.
It is. The Dutch website Wielerfits went one step further and conducted some scientific research on this very topic and concluded that the public are 50-50 on this one,
really?
Much like other major issues going on right now. Brexit, for example.
Yeah, fair enough. They also actually went on to do a bit more research of their own and actually have found out that perhaps these white shorts might bring bad luck to Van der Poel, because he's won basically every other race he's done this season in black shorts, but the day he pulls on white shorts, he can only manage 4th place and had a massive crash en route to it as well.
We do think, though, that we know the reason for them now, don't we? It came from Mathieu's father, Adri, himself, of course, a former professional rider. He claims it was a strategical reason.
To blind opponents.
No, quite the opposite, in fact. It was actually so that the DSs in the team car behind could distinguish him in the overhead shots from the Luxembourg national champion, Bob Jungels.
We shall see, won't we, this week at Amstel Gold. Actually, no, there's no Bob Jungels on the start list. So he can wear black shorts. There we go. All right, well, we won't be able to prove or disprove this theory. Anyway, sticking with cyclocrossers briefly, but moving from Van der Poel to his arch nemesis, Wout van Aert, who, as we mentioned just a moment ago, had that run of tough luck at Paris-Roubaix, including taking his teammate Pascal Enkhorn's bike in the Arenberg Trench.
Which was a selfless act, wasn't it, from a devoted teammate, who was then humiliated by Van Aert, who posted this up on Instagram. So, in getting on his borrowed bike, Van Aert then went on to, shortly afterwards, produce the best power that head unit had ever seen. Enkhorn had left it on there.
Yeah. Ouch. That's tough, isn't it? It's got to be said. And records matter to pros as well as results, don't they? I mean, check this out. As a case study, YouTuber Jasper Verkuel went out to try and get the best time on the infamous Carrefour de l'Arbre section. Managed it, didn't he? Quite comfortably. So then Danny Van Poppel, his countryman, himself a professional cyclist, of course, then went out and tried to get it back. On, 3 days before Paris-Roubaix itself, just laid down 488 watts for 3 minutes.
Oh, was that all?
Yeah, nice work. Yeah.
He deliberately went for that one, didn't he?
Yeah.
What's interesting, though, is that this clearly shows how tired everybody is by that point in Paris-Roubaix, because barely any of the top times come from the race itself. I actually looked at your time. You're down in 82nd place.
I was going to say, speaking of top times, but no.
82nd place. That, despite the fact, as I remind the viewers now, that you were on the fastest bike over the cobbles, which was a mountain bike, wasn't it?
It was. Well, I'd had a tough day as well. I mean, testing those 3 different bikes. I mean, this being GCN, obviously our approach to science is watertight. So we'd done literally 3 runs that day
Had you?
to try and work it out. So and there's a headwind as well.
There was. I looked that up, and on mywindsock.com it tells me that on that day you had a slight tail crosswind.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, moving on, anyway, to a new bike brand, actually, a new direct-to-consumer bike brand, which is actually owned by Walmart. Yes, that's right. Viathon is coming your way. They've actually been designed by industry veteran. Let's probably clarify what industry, given that we're talking about Walmart. It's not fruit and veg or indeed frozen goods. It's Kevin Kwan, who's actually apparently the man behind quite a lot of really famous bike designs. So these have been designed from scratch. No open molds here at all.
Interesting one, this, isn't it? A couple of thoughts popped into my head when I read about it. Firstly, well, the very fact that Walmart are now stocking $6,000 bikes is interesting. Although I also noticed that lower down the range, you can get their cheaper model, complete with 105 group set, for just $300 more than the frame set on its own, which is a
good deal, isn't it?
Deal and slightly weird as well. The second thing I thought of was the fact that this surely makes Walmart the richest bike brand in the world.
By some margin, you'd think, wouldn't you? What are they, $30 billion or something? Potentially then with the power to massively disrupt the bike industry.
Yeah.
I can't think that they'll do it though, because even if they did have that buying power, they don't necessarily have the selling power, do they? I think cyclists would probably be relatively reserved about buying a Walmart bike, even if it's really good and costs $6,000.
Well, time will tell.
It will.
One thing is for sure, this, along with the recent acquisition of Rafa by 2 Walmart heirs, shows that they've really got the cycling bug.
Well, yeah,
truly,
doesn't it?
Haven't they? That, as well as the fact that they're starting to invest in the local cycling community in their hometown of Bentonville over in Arkansas, which is making it a kind of riding paradise.
Yeah, it looks fantastic, doesn't it? Genuinely, like I'd like to go. Unlike Hamilton in Canada, the hosts, you'll remember this, mate, of the 2003 World Road Race Championships, who are currently battling to keep their bike lanes, according to CBC News.
Yeah, there was a bitter battle at the local council, wasn't there, after the suggestion that cars can park in the bike lanes in off-peak hours. Thankfully, the cycling community rallied and that idea was pushed to one side.
Do you know what that is, mate? Positive Bicycle Adequacy Notice of the Week.
Yeah, we've not had a P-ban for quite some time,
have we?
But good to make see its return, shall I say, particularly given the revelatory recent study into childhood asthma incidences related to nitrogen dioxide.
Yeah.
So apparently, globally, there are 4 million new cases of asthma which is related to NO2 each and every single year.
Oh, it's absolutely terrifying, isn't it? Absolutely terrifying. And what's particularly interesting, given our previous story, was that actually Canada is 3rd on the list as being the country with the highest rate of incidence, which I wouldn't have thought. But anyway, there you go. Hopefully someone will show that piece of research to the councillors in Hamilton and say, well, maybe we should have more bike lanes.
We need to remember the key point for cyclists here, though, don't we? Which is the fact that there's more pollution inside a car than there is outside of it. So you're always better on your bike.
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of almost counterintuitive, that. But there you go. Fresh air is better than car air. Right, we're going to finish Cycling Shorts on an unarguably positive note. So 2 lucky winners of the Elite Nero Smart Rollers are Beaker de Prince from Belgium and Craig Saxby from the USA. We will be in touch. Right, breaking news, we really are going to have to end Cycling Shorts on a positive note, but of a different kind, because Trek Segafredo rider Jarlinson Pantano has just been provisionally suspended by his team after returning a positive sample for EPO. So it's early days as yet, but that doesn't sound good.
It is now time for Hack/Bodge of the Week. And kicking things off this time around, we have Jolly S Carbon with, as you might expect, a homemade carbon fibre Wahoo GoPro and battery pack mount for his Canyon Aero.
There's a lot going on there, isn't there?
There is a lot going on there. I'm sure that's neater than it would be in any other manner, but that's a lot of stuff to have around your cockpit.
Well, yeah, I like the spoiler at the front there underneath the Wahoo. I mean, I would have thought the aerodynamic advantage is fairly significant. Now, they could well offset that GoPro hanging underneath it, but it is neat, isn't it? And everything's centralised, which, as people will know, that is very important to us. Do you want to say hack?
I'm going to say hack, yeah. Looks very neat indeed.
Go on then, hack.
Next up is one that I think we've had in the show before, and Sai doesn't think we have. So let us know in the comments down below. But regardless, it comes from Aloes Cutoff. Why don't multi-tools have an 8mm? Loose crank arm almost left me 15 miles away from home until this stick saved my day.
Well, there you go. There's nothing like a piece of foliage to bodge a repair on the way home. My multi-tool actually has a 10 and an 8, so you want to get yourself a new multi-tool.
Should we say bodge?
Oh, 100% bodge.
I thought it was a hack last time.
Ingenious, nevertheless, and sometimes you got to do it. I find keys work quite well. I've got a key that's pretty much the size of an 8mm that I use on my town bike with its crank that I really need to fix. Anyway, another pretend tool. How about this one? A headset bearing race. You see, that's something I don't ever want to buy because I need it once in a blue moon. $10 on a piece of PVC pipe from JC. Now that I like. That looks like a hack to me, mate.
Definite hack from me as well. Next up, from Irish to B Cycling, David McKenna. Some cable lube spacers I designed and which were machined out of aluminium. I'm working on the casting method for possible production. They allow for lubrication of cables and housing for smoother shifting and braking, as well as extended life of your cables and housing.
There's a problem here, David. I'm really sorry to break this to you. I had a set of those that were blue anodized about 23 years ago.
Oh.
They've been invented already. I can't for the life of me remember what they were called. I think they were made by X-Lite.
Were they?
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, it's a great idea. They did definitely work, but yeah.
It's a hack that's been done before.
Sorry, someone's already hacked your hack.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on to one that probably hasn't ever been hacked before and probably shouldn't ever. Hack of the year, according to Thingamagoop. Keeps your cap peak up even when looking down at your GPS during fast descents. Yes, what is that, like a zip tie or something to keep your peak up? I mean, I admire the fact they want the peak up. That gets a high five from me.
The problem with this is that if you, like me, are a peak down person, ensuring it stays peak down would require zip tying it to your nose or something.
Also, if you go fast enough with a hole punched there, it might start whistling.
It could do, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Let us know if it whistles.
That's right.
Hack or bodge.
Oh, massive bodge, isn't it? Just get a hat where the peak doesn't fall down. Anyway, this last one I really like, and he's a bit of explanation, okay? So this was sent in by Yanis, and basically he has hacked Shimano Di2 sprint shifters to work with ETAP, and then he's got his little blip box under his stem there, so you've got apparently cheap ETAP. Hydraulic.
Wow.
So
you know what? This would be ideal for children's road bikes because the problem with them is that everything can be manufactured to be small for children except for STI levers because there's so much going on inside the levers. They have to be chunky. But they'd easily be able to grab hold of the brakes if you twisted them in slightly, wouldn't you?
That's quite a good point, actually. So basically, if you were super wealthy and had loads of time on your hands, you could have either a Di2 or ETAP equipped kids bike.
Yes. Yeah. Just need to specialise to make a small Roubaix for him as well.
Yeah, hack or bodge?
Hack, definitely.
There we go. Keep them coming in using the hashtag GCNHack on Instagram or Twitter, or using the uploader.
Last week's caption photo was this one of Peter Sagan with his own kind of wattage bazooka there, really, wasn't it?
Well, a shirt bazooka.
So we will announce the person who is going to win this week's GCN Camelback water bottle for the best caption that we picked out underneath last week's show. That person is
48 Nugget with the genius caption, Sagan unveils his 12-borer shirt gun.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
Definitely something we would never have come up with in a million years.
No.
But we will come up with something very shortly for this week's photo. I'll get in touch with us, by the way, Mr. Nugget, and we'll get that sent out to you if you give us your address. This week's photo comes from Paris-Roubaix, and it's a rather hot one, isn't it? Cy is going to get you started this time around.
Lampard was on fire at Paris-Roubaix last week.
Lovely.
Come on! You've got to say what you see sometimes. Look at that.
No wonder he was so miserable on the podium. Anyway, let us know what your best caption is in the comment section down below. And this time next week, we'll pick our favourite and you'll win that bottle.
I'm going to have that. Before we get on to what is coming up on the channel over the next 7 days, we're going to take a look back at some of the brilliant comments that you've been leaving under the previous 7 days worth of videos, starting with a couple
not so brilliant. I've just read a couple of them here.
Starting with a couple of perlers under Dan's work experience video, where you joined Team Sky for the afternoon.
Yes, first one comes in from Steve Janazzo. can't believe I'm even reading this out. I've seen Dan's arms, and now I've seen Dan holding a pair of race wheels over his head for a full 20 seconds. My goodness, just how light are those wheels?
And then another Stephen Jones. Dan was about as much use as indicators on an Audi in that race. Great bants from both the Steves there.
Great bants indeed.
Genius.
I will move quickly on. Underneath the Paris-Roubaix preview show, we had this come in from Chris Gibbons. Did you just name check a restaurant to get a free bottle of wine?
Yeah, pretty much.
We tried, but we actually had to pay for the bottle of wine, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah. And worst of all,
vain attempt.
C&E, what else do you get with the asparagus spears and the hand-cut chips? We don't know, because we didn't even get to eat anything either. We just drank wine.
Well, we didn't want to blow the budget. That wine was reasonably expensive, actually.
It was, indeed.
For GCN. Right, coming up on the channel this week then, on Wednesday, we're going to show you how to descend like a pro. Thursday, we are going to show you 5 technologies that will change cycling. Friday, as ever, it's Ask GCN Anything. This week with myself and Ollie.
Yeah, Saturday, we go from sampling wine to coffee. Dan and I find out how to brew the perfect coffee at home.
I remember that video. I was so wide by the end of it.
I know, we also found out an awful lot about how to taste coffee and indeed how to, yep. That was far better than you managed on the morning. And also how to roast it too. So it was brilliant morning. So hopefully that will come out in the video. And then on Sunday, Alpe d'Huez versus Alpe de Zwift. Just how does virtual reality Zwift compare with the real thing? Then Monday and Tuesday, GCN Racing News Show and GCN Show.
Yes, we also got more highlights coming up for you over on Facebook. On Wednesday, it's the Brabantse Appeal, which is the return to competition of Mathieu van der Poel. Will he have black shorts or white shorts on? Find out then. And again, on Sunday, you can see whether he's wearing black or white at the Amstel Gold Race.
Black shorts if he knows what's good for him.
Right, that's pretty much all for this week. But before we go, we need your help. You'll remember those Cyclist t-shirts, which are selling like hotcakes, gone down very popular indeed. We want your help in designing the next one.
Well, yeah, we think we know some pretty iconic climbs. We're basically creating some more t-shirts to celebrate these amazing places in cycling. But we are open to requests. So if you think that you have an iconic climb that needs to be commemorated, celebrated in t-shirt form, then let us know. And if anyone suggests Draycott in the comment section, I'll be well impressed, because there's not many people realise that that is actually the hardest climb in the world.
I doubt they will. But who knows, your design could be on the GCN show very shortly indeed. Right, that's all for this week, isn't it? If you enjoyed it, please give the thumbs up just down below. Always say it that way, so sorry about that. That's been a Paris-Roubaix themed show, hasn't it? We're going to continue that right to the very end. If you've not yet seen how Peter Sagan's team Bora Hansgrohe changed his bike for Paris-Roubaix, you can find that video just down there.